these members who are running this committee, they don't operate on logic, and you cannot debate reality with these people. Whenever this comes up, they exaggerate so much of this. And I mean, look at AOC. Everything goes back to her possibly being raped on January 6th. Why does everything come back to people want to have some sort of sexual encounter with her any time that there's an incident? I don't know what her obsession is with that, but this is what we're hearing from Democrats. So you can't even debate reality, certainly with everyday policies. And I wouldn't expect the same with January 6th.
So that's Lauren Boebert. That's among, I think we can all agree. I think this will be reasonable. One of the most disgusting things I've ever heard in my life. I mean, look, if logic is important to you, the idea that she, as part of the movement that refuses years after the election to acknowledge that Donald Trump lost the election, for her to then say you can't debate reality with these people, well, you're floating off in outer space. You don't know about anything. You believe in QAnon. You believe that Satanists are eating babies and stuff like that. You have no idea where you are, what time it is. You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But I'm willing to set aside the logic thing, as important as logic is to me, as important as an attachment to reality is to me, to focus on the thing about AOC. Because after a couple of years of intense hyper focus from every single right winger on everything that AOC says, does, everything she did before she was elected, God help us if she ever danced on video, that's a week's news cycle for them. Then when people storm in there, people who we know from all these court cases were focused on people like Nancy Pelosi, Mike Pence, and AOC. The actual insurrectionists were elevating this representative to that level. She was afraid of being murdered or raped, the most understandable fear imaginable. And for Lauren Boebert to then attack her and say that her saying that she was afraid that she was raped is her being obsessed with having sexual encounters. That is sick on so many levels, with politics just being one of them. Just like raw humanity, let alone her being a woman and attacking another woman's fear of being raped in this way, Alonzo, that was just disgusting. And it's from an elected representative. That's not just some YouTuber, some bizarre podcaster or something like that. She is a congresswoman.
So John, where do we start? Okay. This is the thing with Lauren Boebert, and you have to understand this with everything she says. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that is her biggest problem. She has been out crazy. She planned to go to Congress and be the craziest person, the craziest voice, get tons of press coverage. And Marjorie Taylor Greene showed up and out crazied her on every level. So nobody cares what she has to say. That is her frustration. That is her anger. Marjorie, listen, she thought, well, I'll just out crazy Sarah Palin. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene took the game to a whole different level. It's like, you're up against the LeBron James of crazy when you take on MGT. So this is why she's upset. Listen, I strongly suspect, I don't know if you remember, but there was a campaign stop with Barack Obama, and they were talking about people not liking him, and he went, like Jay-Z, you gotta brush that dirt off your shoulder, right? That's AOC dealing with Lauren Boebert. AOC doesn't talk to Lauren Boebert. AOC's like, because Lauren Boebert isn't anything to be taken. It's just noise, and her problem is, I'm telling you, John, her frustration is that Marjorie Taylor Greene. Remember, I don't know how old you are. I don't know which Batman is your Batman. I was around for the first movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. And Jack Nicholson had a phenomenal line. What kind of world do we live in when a guy dressed as a bat gets all of my press? That is Lauren Boebert. Marjorie Taylor Greene gets all of her press, and she cannot she's on some right-wing podcast talking, you know what I mean?
You're right.
So I don't take her seriously. Her big problem is that Marjorie Taylor Greene is so much crazier, she can't get any press coverage.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And honestly, especially now with the Democrats being in charge, even if Lauren Boebert had a substantive thought, which she is constitutionally incapable of, it wouldn't matter because she's not in power. You're totally right. I don't think AOC cares about what Lauren Boebert says. I'm sure many in the audience think it's weird that I'm obsessed with it. And I don't know why, after all of this time covering the news, let alone multiple years of the pandemic, I am still surprised by any of this, or why I would have expectations for an attachment to reality or for basic human decency. And I know that I'm probably wasting everyone's time, but it still does bother me that we live in a country that is so utterly lacking in humanity, that there is so much incentive. Like you said, she's frustrated that Marjorie Greene is out crazying her. But the reason that she could be frustrated about that is because there's so much appetite for crazy. Like they want the Jewish space lasers theory, and they want to hear about how Satanists are eating baby faces and stuff like that. They want this theory that like every food processing plant in America has been burned down in the last year. They are not interested in reality. Reality is too depressing, and so they won't do what I do, which is just get really into Marvel shows. They have to invent their own new reality and get obsessed with that. And I find that even more pathetic.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.